All right, hi everyone. Welcome to our live post-game coverage. Bills Chiefs from Highmark Stadium. Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. I am Adam Benigni of WGRZ TV and Sports Talk Live Buffalo. A 28-21 win. Very impressive, Sal, for the Buffalo Bills. Both sides of the ball. We have a lot to cover. Again, we invite you to join us here. Your comments, questions, we welcome them. We'll respond to as many as we possibly can during our time. We'll go about 20 minutes here. Obviously, Sal's on deadline, still with work to do in Orchard Park. But Sal, you and I mean, let's give credit where credit's due. Bills certainly deserve that. You and I had each thought that the Chiefs were going to win this game, along with a lot of other people. They were a favorite on the road. Didn't turn out that way. And I'll leave it to you to overall impressions. We could talk offense and defense, either side of the ball here, playing such critical roles.
Yeah, look, we were not alone, Adam. I think a lot of people thought the way the Chiefs have been playing really for the last month and a half after their 0-2 start, they've just been tremendous. The only loss they suffered was a really bad one against Jacksonville, which should never have happened. I mean, they should have been coming in here basically on a 6-game winning streak. So I thought the Bills, just with all the problems that the Bills have had with their defense, especially some injuries that have cropped up, another huge one tonight, by the way, I just didn't know how the Bills were going to cover all these Chiefs receivers. And Patrick Mahomes has been playing at the top of his game. I mean, he literally has been the Mahomes of a couple of years ago, who was the league MVP, the Super Bowl MVP, an almost unstoppable force. So, of course, it's the NFL, Adam. So what happened? He had the worst game of his career, completion percentage-wise. First time in his life that he's had a game under 50%. And the Bills win 28-21. So, yeah, a lot of stuff happened in this game. We can get to it all. But first and foremost, I'm surprised. I'm surprised the Bills had it in them to get this game into the victory column.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, I felt like it would be competitive given the history between these teams. But I felt like at this particular time, with the injuries on defense and the way the Chiefs had been playing, hitting their stride, 5 wins in 6 games, I felt as if that the pendulum had, at least during the regular season, had swung in their favor. Instead, Buffalo with an impressive victory. The defensive line, you mentioned the injuries and the impact. Look, I mean, a 53% pressure rate is what I read. And Bosa kind of leading the way there with 5 pressures and a sack. I mean, you have to be impressed. I mean, that's the reason they got this guy. And he continues to, by and large, really deliver this season.
Yeah. Bosa was huge in this game. Look, Bosa, of all guys, he knows all about the Chiefs, right? All those years he spent with the Chargers. So he knows what he was doing against that team. But this is exactly, like you said, Adam, why they brought Joey Bosa in. For games like this, he had to be impactful, and he was. I'm dying to see what the pressure numbers are going to be. He had the 1 sack. He had 5 QB hits. That's just hits. So he probably had more pressures than hits when it all comes down to it. Greg Rousseau had 4 quarterback hits. They combined for 1.5 sacks. Defensive line was tremendous. I mean, there's never been a game, maybe there was, but of Mahomes getting pressured on half of his dropbacks. As we said, 44% completion percentage, lowest of his career. He threw the pick to Hairston. And I think another big thing, Adam, in this game, and I think we had talked about it on our show, you can rush Patrick Mahomes and get pressure on him, but the key to your rush is you can't get too far upfield and let him leak out to the edges and do the damage he can do. And the Bills did an outstanding job of that. He only got out of the pocket. He ran 1 time for 5 yards. That has not been his game all year. He had 280 yards scrambling. I think he had the most scramble yards of any quarterback in the league coming into this game, and they never let him get out to the edges. And that's so important to keep him under control. So great pressure, but it was also disciplined pressure to keep him in the pocket. And then behind him, or behind the pressure, they covered. They found a way. There was a couple bad breakdowns, but by and large, they covered really well in this game.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, if we're going to go there, that's where I was headed next in terms of the secondary. I mean, you got to talk Cole Bishop, right? and you got to talk Max Hairston. Brandon Beane, justifiably so, has taken some heat for lack of impact near the top of his drafts, but there's two high picks who played pivotal roles in this game today. And Hairston,
Absolutely.
I mean, as a rookie to come in, and they drafted him for his speed, and boy, you could see the benefit of that in this game, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, right. Xavier Worthy is the guy that everybody worries about. Bills fans, it's going to be linked to the Bills forever because that was the trade that allowed them with Buffalo, that allowed the Chiefs to get Worthy. It's one of the fastest players in the league. Well, now the Bills have one of the fastest defensive backs in the league in Max Hairston. On that interception, I mean, they were in a zone coverage at the start, but it ended up being man, like most zones, Adam, it ends up being man coverage at the end of a play. Someone's got to be over there to be on the guy. In this case, it was Hairston going deep with Worthy, and that was a terrific coverage play. And then what's nice about it, Adam, is he caught the damn ball, right? How many times have we seen Bills defensive backs, not make the interception? He made the interception. And it was, in many ways, a game-saving play. We don't know exactly what would have happened. They were still back at the 33-yard line, and it was a third down play. If it had just been an incomplete pass, maybe it's the same result. But he made the pick, and that allowed the Bills to chew off, almost all of the last 4 minutes of the game until the missed field goal. So that was a huge play. And then you mentioned Cole Bishop.
He was
Did anybody see – Did anybody see him having the game after the way he started this season? He had 4 pass breakups in this game. The last one came on the second to last play of the game in the end zone. We've all seen crazy shit happen, right? He made sure that there was no crazy shit on that play. So, yeah, I mean, I was really, really, really impressed. And I got to say, I was surprised by how well Cole Bishop played in this game.
I don't want to overstate this point, but there's been a lot made about with the way this defense is built and put together, the players they've selected, and its shortcomings within that context, right? That this is a defense kind of made to deal with and beat the Chiefs. Today's game was probably an example of that, don't you think? Even with the injuries.
I mean, I'm never on board with you draft guys to beat a specific team. I mean, you got to beat 17 teams, right? I mean, you got to win all your games. You can't just play for one team. But I understand what the Bills are doing. They realize that that's the team that they have to get past, and they've got to find better ways to match up against them. And they today it looked like they have got some players in place who are going to help them do that. Max Hairston certainly being one of them. Cole Bishop, look, there's 2 young kids in the secondary who, Bishop maybe is starting to come into his own. It's still very early for Max Hairston. I mean, he had a nice game. He's got a long way to go. This is only 2 games for him so far, and he's not even starting yet. He's only sharing time with Trey White, although, quite frankly, Adam, that should change. I mean, I think moving forward, he needs to be the guy that starts. So, yeah, those are all good, positive things. Joey Bosa coming in, obviously, to help the pass rush and get after a guy like Mahomes. So, yeah, for one day, it all worked great. This is the team they got to beat, and they beat them. Now let's see what happens moving forward, because they've got a bunch of other teams they got to beat moving forward here. And we might as well get right to it or hit this point. The Michael Hoyt injury, Adam.
Yes, right.
I'm sorry. That just puts a damper on the whole thing today. That's a crushing loss. He had just gotten back literally last week, and you could see already in just the 6.5 quarters he played, you could see how important a player he was going to be, and he's done. He's done for the year. He might not even be ready at the start of next year with an Achilles injury. So that's just awful. Just an awful break for the Bills and for him.
Unbelievable. I mean,
it really is
an Achilles, he was certainly meeting and in some cases exceeding expectations coming off that 6-game suspension, and was going to be such an impactful player, right? And a non-contact, the way that happened, that's just devastating.
It's just, I mean, he was going to help. He was already helping in this game. They moved him inside on some of those rush snaps, which we had talked about before. With their lack of defensive tackles right now, with all the injuries, he was going to be a guy that on passing downs, they could shift him inside, and then you could still keep Bosa and Greg Rousseau on the field. And that worked great while he was out there. And then he comes out, and then he's done. It's just, like I said, it's a crushing loss for them. We only saw him for 6.5 quarters. But, yeah, I can say it's a crushing loss because you knew, hell, the coaches had told us what he was going to be doing moving forward. I talked to him the other day, and he said, yeah, don't forget, I came into the league as a 300-pound defensive tackle. I know I can go in there and help. And he was doing it, and now they need to get Daquan Jones back as soon as possible because they survived today with Federian Mathis and Jordan Phillips getting full reps. But, man, they got to get some help inside. Trade deadline is Tuesday. And I said to you, right now, defensive tackle is the number one priority. It's not receiver anymore. They need defensive tackle help.
All right. So I was going to ask you about that a little bit later. And I was going to ask you if it, today's game, all encompassing in terms of the results, changed your approach to the trade deadline on Tuesday. I think you just answered it. And I think I agree with you that,
look, it'd be great to get a receiver. The receivers were again useless today. I mean, Shakir had 7 for only 43 yards. One of them was a 20-yarder. So everything else he did was they're like running plays. They were literally like long handoffs. Coleman, invisible again. Elijah Moore had the one nice play, but they're just getting nothing. So I understand that fans are screaming for a receiver, but when you look at that defensive tackle position now with Hoyt going out, a guy who was helping, I don't know how Bean can get past Tuesday without bringing in a quality. I mean, I'm not sure what quality would be, but at least an experienced defensive tackle to get in there.
An experienced rotational player is probably the best of what you can hope for at the trade deadline. All right, let's switch gears, go to offense. And, well, you mentioned, the receivers, tight ends today. Hey, Dalton Kincaid, there's another nice game from him, 6 for 101 and a touchdown. And Knox, getting the ball downfield, actually, right? I mean, there's the Elijah Moore play, but you had Kincaid for 47 and Knox for 30.
Yeah, there was a nice job with the tight ends today. Again, Adam, I don't understand Joe Brady's usage of Dalton Kincaid. I mean, he was having a night. He caught all 6 of his targets, but when the snap counts come out later tonight on the sheet, I'll guarantee you that Kincaid, I know he had to be maybe 40% snap count. I mean, Knox was in there, Hawes because of the run game. But I just don't understand why they can't find a way to get Kincaid on the field more often. I mean, clearly Allen trusts him. And he is, at this point, he's their downfield passing game. It's none of the receivers. Dalton Kincaid is their best downfield passing threat right now. They've got to find a way to get him on the field more. And how about this, Adam? Imagine this scenario. They actually put James Cook on the field on a third down. They actually threw him a pass, and he caught it for a first down. Guess what? That was a massive first down that helped them run out most of the rest of the game in the last 4 minutes. Why is he not on the field on third and fourth down passing plays? It's crazy to me. It literally makes me want to scream and bang my head against the wall that he walks off the field and Ty Johnson comes on. Crazy.
Right. I understand you can talk pass protection all you want. Although he's their second most impactful player and can, is so dynamic and can get them yards in any number of ways. Run game, passing game, all of those things. There's John Marlowe with a comment. Smart to keep Cook in on third down. We've been saying it for how long? John, thank you. And Bob R., we'll get to your comment in just a second here. But let's get to Josh Allen. He talked during the week, right, about trusting his feet. So many questions about the receiving core and what happened, even with a 40-9 win at Carolina. All the fan base saw straight through it and saw issues. 10 different guys caught balls today, which is good. There are still issues with this group. But Allen, look, 23 of 26, 273, a touchdown through the air, 2 rushing TDs, 88.5% completion rate. That's a team record. And, of course, the one that's getting a lot of attention nationally, 78 rushing touchdowns now, an NFL record. And that was a game where he elevated these guys today as he had in the past.
He did. He was back to being MVP, Josh, today. Look, since that Baltimore game, that fourth quarter, he threw for 251 yards. Since then, he has been pedestrian at best. His best game was 253 in a loss against the Patriots. So for him to throw for 273 in this game and be as efficient as he was, 23 of 26. Now, granted, a lot of those balls are 2 yards in the air. So you're going to have a higher completion percentage. But as we said earlier, he did get the ball downfield on a few plays in this game, which hadn't been happening at all. It was the tight ends who were making those plays, with the exception of the Elijah Moore down the seam play there. So that was good to see. They need to do more of it, though. Today you saw it, Adam, in the second half. The Chiefs did a good job on James Cook. I think he broke out one. I think he had a 14-yard run in the second half, but most of his yardage was tough to get in the second half. They were putting 8. At times they had 9 guys in the box, and they're daring the Bills to beat them with the pass. So this is going to be something teams are going to start doing more of until the Bills can prove it. And to an extent, they did a little bit today, but until they can prove it with their receivers, I think it's going to be tougher for James Cook to run. It took him 27 carries. That's a career high for Cook to get his yardage today. So that was some tough sledding. The Bills have to figure it out. As we go forward here, they've got to get more in the passing game. But back to your point, this was a very, very nice day for Josh Allen. He played well.
All right, Bob R. with a comment. I can't believe the Bills played for the long field goal and not a first down to close the game out.
No, I was okay with that.
Yeah, me too.
I guess, you could go for it on fourth down. It would have been the same result. The Chiefs would still had the ball at the 42. But I thought at that point, you trust your kicker. Prater's been really good this year. I think he had missed one field goal all year, and I think he missed one extra point. So, why not? It's a 52-yard or 53-yard. What was it, 52 or 53? One or the other. It's a makeable kick. It was a nice night here. There was no wind. You put the game away. You go up 10 points. The game's over. He missed it. He hit the upright. Tough break. But I think the Bills played it right there. Again, the biggest play in that sequence was the pass to Cook. They were in a third and whatever it was, 5 or 6. They needed yards. They weren't in field goal range at that point. So that was a big play to get the first down. And, your intention at that point, kick the field goal, put the game out of reach. Didn't work out, but I had no problem with the strategy there.
52-yarder for the record, Sal. All right, I saw from Bob R., it was the most pressure by the Bills on Mahomes in any of their games.
Yes, it was.
It was, yeah. And you don't need stats to back that up.
They've been playing Mahomes since 2020, and I can't remember. Well, the stats will show this was the most ever. But yeah, you just think back, there was never a game when he was under this much duress by the Bills at all. There just isn't one. So it was an impressive game plan by Babich and McDermott. They did a really nice job. I don't think, sometimes watching here live, Adam, is tougher. It's easier for you on TV. I don't think they did a whole lot of blitzing, did they? It didn't seem like they. I remember Benford got a sack on a corner blitz.
Right.
I remember seeing Bernard go in there a couple times, but it felt like they were getting pressure most of the time with their front four, which is what you want to do, especially against that team. You've got to cover with 7 against that team. So it was a nice job by the coaching staff this week.
And the way they designed it with the containment on Mahomes. I don't think you can overstate that. It wasn't just the numbers. It was the technique with which they used those limited numbers and maximize the coverage at the same time. Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent game plan, the way they schemed this thing up by Babich and Sean McDermott. No question.
Bob has a point here too at the bottom, and he's right. This is something I was thinking about too. I didn't like the third down call before the field goal. On that one, they ran Cook up the middle. He got nowhere. That to me screamed at him of a play fake to Cook and a Josh Allen rollout to get some yardage. I think they would have moved the ball closer for Prater. Might very well have made the difference. He's right about that. I did not like that play call by Brady. That was too conservative. But in fact, I think they had 10 guys at the line of scrimmage on that play, so they were never going to get anything. But if Allen had gotten outside, there could have been some real estate out there, I thought.
All right, that we've covered pretty much. I asked you. We talked a little bit about the trade deadline earlier. We agree,
Right.
defensive tackle at this point. And look, the Patriots win, right? So at least the Bills. I mean, this is a big one.
You see any of that game, by the way?
I didn't. I just saw highlights.
God Almighty, Michael Penn. That loss to the Falcons, Adam. They're going to look back on that and say, how the hell did we lose to that team? At the time that game was going on, I thought the Falcons would be tricky, and it turned out they were. Now, since then, I'm thinking back, like, how the hell did the Bills lose to that team and that quarterback? That was ridiculous how they lost that game. They should have beaten the Patriots today, and they blew it. They did not help the Bills at all.
Eduardo Bonilla, greetings from Mexico. Hey, Eduardo, thank you for being with us here on Believe in Bills. Any final points for you, Sal, before we wrap it
up? Just that, look, it's a big win. I mean, Patriots winning. If the Bills had lost this game, they're 5-3. They're in trouble in the division. I still think, Adam, they're kind of in trouble in the division. The Patriots have such an easy schedule, and people don't want to admit it. I certainly hate to admit it. They're good again. They just are. They've got their franchise quarterback. He is playing at a Pro Bowl level. Their defense is good. Their coach is good. They're going to win 12 without even breaking a sweat. And I don't know that the Bills are going to get, if it needs to be 13 wins, I don't know that the Bills can get there. They certainly have to beat the Patriots in that rematch. But today was huge in that endeavor, right? If they had lost this, they're 5-3. They're in trouble. So at 6-2, you feel a lot better about their chances moving forward. Now go take care of business against those awful Dolphins. Don't find a way to blow that. And then you got a couple tough tests with Tampa Bay and then a short turnaround on the road against a really, really good Houston defense. So they've got some work to do here.
Yeah. Well, we had talked about with Vic Carucci this week when we had him on that the loser of this game was going to have a really steep climb. And, despite the fact of how well the Chiefs, there's a long way to go. Let's not overstate, injuries can happen, things. But, I mean, you look at the complexion of the AFC. So, Denver, down the line, Denver looks like they could be a problem. New England, right? I mean, you're seeing a different cast of characters there. We've seen potential and growth or whatever with some of these teams and knew that they were coming. How quickly would they arrive? But they're answering some questions earlier than expected in some of these cases. So a huge win for the Buffalo Bills with that in mind and so many other aspects as they once again take care of business. Go ahead.
And you also got to love the fact that, at some point the head-to-head wins over the Chiefs and Ravens are probably going to mean something. Mm-hmm. So that's nice to have those two. The Chiefs have got 4 losses ahead of them. They're 2 games behind in the AFC West. Now, again, it's early. They're going to their bye, I think, now. So we're at the halfway point, and they still have to play Denver twice, so they'll have a chance to make it up. But, man, to see the Chiefs, they lost 2 games all last year. So to have them at 4 losses already and you've got the head-to-head on them, you got to like that. You got to like that a lot.
Yeah, and you really have to like the way things kind of turn and the way this team responded today. And look,
absolutely,
coming out of the bye, a 40-9 win where the Panthers did so much to self-destruct and not to take away, what the Bills were able to do in that game with a dominant victory. But with Dalton in there, he really handed that to them in a lot of ways, at least in terms of the margin. I think they win that game anyway. This is the highest quality win I've seen from this team this year, hands down.
Yeah, I mean, we all thought that Baltimore win was going to hold up, and it turns out that maybe not. Although the Ravens are another team, Adam,
right?
They're going nowhere. They're going to get right back into that. That's still going to look like a really good win down the road for the Bills. But I think this one, because of the way the Chiefs were playing coming into the game, this is without question, this is their best win of the season.
And when you talk complimentary football, all those coaching cliches, but that was it today. I mean, you saw that. Yeah. So credit to the Buffalo Bills, 28-21 win over the Kansas City Chiefs. And so for Sal Maiorana, of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. I am Adam Benigni of WGRZ TV and Sports Talk Live Buffalo Monday nights at 7 o'clock on Channel 2. Thanks for being with us here live on YouTube. Believe in Bills presented by FanDuel.